What's good, Finn Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. And this man's got goosebumps as I'm joined by the James Taylor, to my Zach Thomas. What's good, homie?
I'm good, bro. What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Bro, just out here, bro, trying to figure out why my camera be lagging today.
I hear you. Fins Nation, what's good? Let's get it, baby. Let's get it.
So how you been today on this glorious Tuesday after Labor Day, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm doing good. I'm doing much better now. I'm back home, just chilling, just getting my mind right for tomorrow. But another day. Another day. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, man. It's close, man. Can you believe we're gonna have football in 2 days? A little less than 2 days?
Yeah, man. And did you hear about Von Miller?
I just saw that. I was just about 10 minutes ago, bro. I was looking at it, the update. That'll help us, for our with our matchup with them later on in the year. But it's unfortunate for the player. Last year they had Bradley Chubb go down for the year. Now, fast forward to this year, he's going down for the year, it appears. So, man, it's like they're snake bitten, bro, the last couple of years. But
bro, that division's lost Von Miller and Derwin James in the past 2 weeks.
I'm not going to shed any tears, though. So, but it's unfortunate. Hopefully, he gets has his surgery and he gets better and comes back for next year. But I'm not shedding any tears, bro, not at all.
All right, shout out to people. Can you shout out to people in the comments while let me just switch my internet connection here for a sec.
Absolutely. Here we go, baby. Here we go. All right. The usual suspects. Rhino, I see you, homie. Always respect to you, FM. I see you. Havoc. Benedict Havoc. I see you, homie. You know what it is. Slim Pickens, shout out to you. The Phinside panel, Larry L. Shout out to you, homie. We have Jazzy 803. Shout out to you, homie. King's Mill. Always respect to you, bro. Nico Cuomo, what's good, homie?
Did you shout out Brandon Hudgens?
I don't see him, bro.
Clemente 3472.
I don't see him yet.
Tommy Brinkley, Justin Devaney.
Carlos, what is that? I'm on a butcher your name. I'm sorry, bro.
Just say Carlos M, bro.
Carlos M. Shout out to you. Esteban, I see you, homie. Good to see you. Rolling through, man.
Brian Exicus, Scotty Joe, 22.
Jason Greaves, what's good, homie?
Sean Jones, what's good, homie?
Redhead Kane, what's good? Solo 2K, what is that? Yeah, Solo 2K, what's good, homie? El Reezy, I see you, homie. Shout out to you. That's pretty much it, man. Clemente 3472, I see you. Appreciate you, man. Sean
Dolphin
Jones.
82, Joe B.
I didn't see Joe B. Joe B, shout out to you, homie.
All right, you ready to jump into this a little bit?
Let's get it, baby. Let's get it.
I got to figure out what's up with this lag here. Okay. All right. Just give me 1 second here.
Cool. Finn for life. I see you, homie. Shout out to you. Niner Wire.
Guys.
Shout out to you, man.
Comments right now, so.
Money back 21. What's good?
Sucker trying to.
Slim Pickens. What's good, homie?
Here we go.
Sean Jones. Shout out to you.
Appreciate you, Sean Jones. He says, big fan of the show, homie, at Reason. Appreciate you. Money back 21. What's good, man? You shouted out Slim Pickens, right? Fan for life as well.
Yep.
Good. Everyone, if you're in the room, we got 70 in the room right now. Smash that like button. Smash that like button, guys. All right, let's jump right into this. I mean, we just covered. Let's before we get into the Dolphins stuff, guys. Let's cover a few little maintenance around the NFL type of things, and let's start off with, because y'all know it's coming soon. Your boy EM be huge on that Madden. So let's start off with this one. Colin Kaepernick is now in Madden, bro.
I saw that.
Where are you at on I mean that whole thing, bro?
Well, he shouldn't have been taken out of the game to begin with, to be honest with you. We all know the Kaepernick situation, the story. The stance he took, the initial stance he took, back in 2016, 15. And we all know that story. You all know what happened as a result of his stand. The stance that he was trying to take with these particular issues that are plaguing our country. And we all know what happened as a result of that. So, in my opinion, he should have never been taken out of the game to begin with. But it's good that EA is trying to right that wrong, as much as they possibly can by putting him back inside the game. But he's not. My thing is, much respect to Cap, and what he's trying to the awareness that he's trying to bring to these particular issues. But in terms of where I'm at personally, he's not a member of the Miami Dolphins. So him being in the Madden game makes no difference one iota to me.
Okay, so this is what EA released today. Their statement, they said Colin Kaepernick is one of the top free agents in football and a starting caliber quarterback. The team at EA Sports, along with millions of Madden NFL fans, want to see him back in our game. We've had a long relationship with Colin through Madden NFL and worked through our past soundtrack mistakes. Knowing that our EA Sports experiences are platforms for players to create, we want to make Madden NFL a place that reflects Colin's and talent, rates him as a starting QB, and empowers our fans to express their hopes for the future of football. We've worked with Colin to make this possible, and we're excited to bring it to all of you today. Starting today in Madden NFL 1, fans can put Colin Kaepernick at the helm of any NFL team in franchise mode, as well as play with him in play now mode. We look forward to seeing Colin on Madden NFL teams everywhere. And this is what kind of has ruffled people's feather. Not so much that he's been brought back into the game, bro. It's the fact, and I'll show people right here, it's the fact that, he's rated 81 overall right now, bro. He's rated better than Ryan Fitzpatrick by 7 points and Tua Tagovailoa by 8 points. And this is, Fitzpatrick last year, he won 5 games in the NFL. Colin Kaepernick, we know he's been to the Super Bowl. We know what the history, but that was how many years ago?
Yeah.
So this is for everyone to see. He's rated 81, bro, and that's what a lot of people, I think, have kind of taken issue with. It's not the fact that he's back in the game. It's how highly rated they made him.
Well, I think that's a reflection of what his last, and I get the frustration with fans. I think that's more a reflection of what he was rated the last time he was in the game. But I get, that was how many years ago. Yeah. But that's pretty. How else are you gonna, from an EA standpoint? That's just what they do. Even players even more current players, they'll be out of the league 2 years or a year or whatnot. And then once they once they put them back in the game, they just go based off what they were rated, prior to them not being in the football game. So, but I get that is a long time. Cap, it's been a while. It's been 5 years since he's been in the league now. So I get the frustration, but again, he's not a member of the Miami Dolphins. So, this is not really an issue for me either way. So, but it's good that EA. He should have never been taken out of the football game to begin with. You know what I mean? I don't play Madden Ultimate Team and all these, franchise and all that. So if they have players, because obviously they do have players from, different eras in the game. So from that standpoint, Cap never did anything. I felt, for EA to to take him out of the game just completely. You know what I mean? So, but again.
But did you see that Mike Garofalo report today that apparently there was no real interest after that George Floyd thing? It was all just a PR scam. It was all a PR stunt. He said that there was actual no real interest from NFL teams. So, I mean take that for what it's worth, but that's the report that came out today.
That's not surprising. I mean, on many levels, because, I mean, I get teams now, they look at Cap, what is he, 31 years old now? And they look at it from the standpoint, he's been out of the league 5 years, he's 31 years old. Is he that player? Because whether you agree with it or not, Cap is going to bring a high level of attention and focus on your franchise. What if he's, for whatever team he signs with. So you have, from a team standpoint, you have to weigh, is the player worth the quote unquote distraction? And I think teams look at Cap now more from the perspective of him being out of the league 5 years. We just don't think his talent level will warrant that level of attention.
Investment. But he is worth I think he's worth a practice squad if Josh Rosen is, but I don't think he wants practice squad, right?
That has something to play. That's in play as well. What is he willing to? What role is he willing to accept?
Because if people remember, he had to take a reduced salary, but there was a trade in place for him to go to Denver, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. I remember
and he didn't want the reduced salary, right? So
I remember that.
Anyways, let's keep it moving here. So today there was the NFLPA put out a memo, and since between the time frame of August 30th to September 5th, 44,500 tests regarding COVID were administered to a total of 8,349 players and team personnel. 17,519 tests were administered to 2,641 players. 26,991 tests were administered to 5,708 personnel, and there was only one new confirmed positive test amongst players and 7 new confirmed positives amongst other personnel, which is like management, staff, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this is good right now, EM, but don't the reports that really matter start once these teams start traveling?
Yeah. Hopefully the standard, the responsibility can be maintained once the season starts. I'm sure, the NFL, they have structures in place to where, it'll minimize players, coaches, team officials or whatnot, et cetera, where they're, will greatly minimize the chance of them becoming infected or being around individuals that could potentially be infected. So it's just good to see to this point, because that's all we can go by now is where we are right now. So it's good to see that the plan that the NFL had put in place is working. They're having a level of success, a high level of success with those plans. So hopefully that standard, that structure can be maintained, because I do agree it's going to get, when teams start to travel, it's going to get more difficult to maintain, the standard, so to speak. But we'll just see how it unfolds, man. We'll just see how everything unfolds. And but it's good to hear that, this whole plan and to this point has, they've had, they're having a high level of success with. So let's just knock on wood that we don't have any outbreaks and everything, the standard and the precautions and everything, is maintained.
Agreed. All right. So with today, bro, there were some, before we get into some things that we'll get into, right now we're going to go over some tryouts today. We had some workouts, and then we're going to get into some of the media. We're going to get into 2 articles. We're going to get into 3 straight articles by Barry Jackson. Shout out to him. Was a fantastic human being when me and him talked through emails. Such a nice guy. But we're going to go over 3 articles, and 2 of them are about the love we're getting from the media right now. And another one is a pretty interesting little 6-pack of news and notes he put out tonight, about 6 hours ago. About this afternoon. And then we'll get into the depth chart, guys. We'll take a look at the cap space right now, and we'll also take a look at the New England Patriots unofficial depth chart right now. And then we're going to have a special little round table before the round table tomorrow with a few mods and one of my buddies over at the Brawl Network. And the 5 of us will get their opinions and their thoughts on it, and we'll go from there. So this is what we're lining up for the show right now tonight, guys. So again, as always, let's get it. Let's smash that like button. We got 101 in the room. Subscribe if you haven't. If you'd like to donate to the channel, paypal.me/Phinside. You can also donate straight to the super chat. And if you want to become a Patreon, patreon.com/Phinside the NFL. And guys, I want to shout out, like we do every time, our 10 Patreons, because we gained a new Patreon over the weekend. I don't think you were on the show when that happened, because we gained him on. I don't think you were. I think we gained him. We gained him the Tua show where the documentary is this year. So shout out to the OGs, Infinite Trauma, and Rhino Sith, the original Patreons. Shout out to Fake Spike 94. Shout out to Shake Money. Shout out to Joe BK all day. Ramon Casillas, Seth, Mr. 2 Bits, and our new Patreon, Miguel Angel Hernandez. Shout out to you and welcome. Take advantage of the Patreon level you're at and everything that comes from, including coming on the channel. All right, let's jump in to some Dolphin news. We'll get into some of the media love. Actually, you know what? Let's get into the tryouts today because it was a little interesting to see what we had with the tryouts today, my friend. The Dolphins today brought in a few interesting people, I guess.
I haven't seen this. It's the first time I've seen it.
So
I haven't seen that.
We brought in 4 centers and 1 guard. We brought in Adam Redmond, the center/guard, who was just cut by Cincinnati for them to make way for their waiver claim of Shaq Calhoun. We brought in Javon Patterson from Mississippi, Sam Jones from Arizona State, Marquel Hardell from Auburn, the guard, and another center in James Fuentes from Iowa. So clearly they don't like, this is why I thought Donnell Stanley would at least make the practice squad. And because really, who's our true center behind Dieter and Karras? We don't have one, right? Donnell Stanley, that day where he got blown up by Raekwon Davis, they must have looked at him and said, it's just like the film of when Raekwon ate him at Alabama. And I'm really shocked. I saw a lot that I liked from Donnell on film. So I'm shocked that he's gone, but he must have not performed at an adequate level. If you look at the first day of tryouts since Labor Day and after they've announced the practice squad in the 53, and it's nothing but centers and guards who can play center because Adam Redmond can play guard or center as well.
Yeah, I'm we hadn't had a chance to talk about this privately, but I'm very surprised that Donnell Stanley, they didn't put him on a practice squad as well. We talked about this pre-draft, post-draft privately that we like, a lot what we saw on film with him. He's coming from an SEC school. He's a natural center. Definitely we felt like if he didn't make the 53-man roster, he would definitely be a strong candidate for the practice squad. So the fact that, the Dolphins didn't prioritize him, speaks volume. I guess obviously he didn't show him much of anything, during the training camp process. But yeah, this is just telling me they're looking for more, number one, they're just, the relentless pursuit of finding, diamonds in the rough, finding talent, acquiring talent. But the fact that they're bringing this many linemen, it tells me they might be looking for, a depth piece, at that center position. So
it makes you wonder who's on that bubble with the practice squad, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't sign anyone though, did they?
No, they did not.
Okay, it's just workout. So yeah, this, it could be an indication they're just not happy with the depth, where they're at overall. Not necessarily the 53 or the active roster, but overall. So yeah. Yeah, but again, I'm shocked Donnell Stanley didn't prioritize him. So I wonder if he got signed with anybody else.
I haven't seen his name. I don't think so. I think he's a free agent right now. And then, guys, what came out after the tryouts was a question a lot of us were wondering. The answer to a question. And shout out to the homie Alan Papar from SI, who's been on the show before, friend of the show. He said the 4 Miami Dolphins practice squad players protected this week from being poached per the new NFL rules are cornerback Tay Hayes, who we've highlighted. He would have made the team if we didn't trade for Lynn Bowden, tight end Chris Myrick, Jake Ruddick, and cornerback Ken Webster. So there is your answer of who is protected from the practice squad in the first week, everyone.
This is concerning for me. We all know I've gone on record saying who I want them to prioritize over everyone else. That would be one, Benito Jones and Kirk Merritt. I'm not going to read too much into this week 1, situation. I think over the course of the season, it'll be fluid. It'll be a week-to-week type situation. As players, develop on the practice squad.
I just want to point out, Larry, all 16 spots on the practice squad are taken right now. So someone would have to be cut from the practice squad. Anyways, continue on.
Yeah, I think this will be, we shouldn't read too much into, to this week 1. I think the situation obviously will be fluid on a week-to-week basis. As players improve, get further along in their development, the Dolphins will see that every single day, and they'll prioritize those individuals accordingly. But yeah, I'm not necessarily disappointed. Well, no, I'm gonna say it. I am disappointed because I told you, if we come out of this training camp and we lose a player with that kind of ability like Kirk Merritt, it's going to be the biggest disappointment for me from a training camp standpoint, and also Benito Jones, because from a depth standpoint at that zero technique position, I don't know why the Dolphins are not prioritized. I would prioritize him probably more so than any of them, but because injuries are going to happen over the course of the season. We're one injury away on the interior from having to go out. If that happens, knock on wood, we would definitely have to go out and make a trade or, scour the practice squad wire or whatever to try to find a replacement, because we have no depth at that position. So I want
to put this out too. Callaway is suspended, but Callaway serves his suspension on the practice squad as a body.
He has his suspension is what, 8 games?
7. He has 7 games remaining, but he's basically serving them on the practice squad. And Dervell has been signed to our practice squad, so he's not an exemption when he's signed a practice squad contract. This is, I believe, his second, and he only has 1 year left of practice squad eligibility. So they actually do count. With Kirk Merritt and Benito Jones, the thing is, even with a guy like Matt Cole, you can kind of hide those guys, right? Look at the guys, other than, the Tay Hayes, Ken Webster, Jake Ruddick have film on them right now at the NFL level, right? My thing is Benito Jones, Merritt, Matt Cole, there's no film on them. So add in the fact even when they were there, even when the media was there for the full practice, we're only getting 10, 15, 8 to 10% of all the information, right? So, like I said before yesterday, and I've said before, days before that, if people do the timeline, Kirk Merritt was flashing for about 2 or 3 straight practices. It was popping up in the training room camp reports. And then that day where Fitz had to leave, the first one happened, and then Kirk Merritt popped up on the injury report, and has been on it for like 8 or 9 practices, right? So I don't know, man. I think those are guys at UDFAs where, it's going to be right now with how crazy the circumstances of the world are, a guy that's more sure thing. Like, listen, the first guy I would poach right now based off training camp reports and tape from last year is Tay Hayes, bro.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree. He would be on my list, but
Yeah.
I just would have.
No, but I'm just saying because at least you got tape to back it up.
Right. I agree.
You know what I mean? And
I agree.
because it's such a weird circumstantial season, and there's so many uncertainties already. Now you're going to take the uncertainty of giving a spot to a UDFA, right?
And also, I'm surprised why they didn't, just like Tay Hayes came down to the final cuts, Benito Jones was like right behind him.
Yeah.
So obviously he had shown enough.
Even Merritt Cole lasted a while. Like,
they
were the first names out, right?
So I'm just a little surprised, that they didn't, prioritize Benito. But but I agree with you. Yeah, they can somewhat hide them because they don't have any NFL tape on.
It's the best season to hide a diamond in a rough, bro.
Right, I agree.
It literally is, man. There you go, guys. And EM, what is your favorite little saying for today that this situation is, bro, week to week?
Fluid.
It's going to be a fluid situation, guys, because you got to remember, you cannot protect the same player 2 weeks in a row, and you can only protect players a total of 2 times before you have to make a roster decision on them. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see names rotating weekly. So it'll be interesting, guys, to see who can maneuver and hide talent the best this season, and really we won't know the answer to that till potentially next year or halfway through the season when injuries pile up and guys have to step up. So it's going to be very, very interesting to watch that unfold, bro.
I agree, bro. I agree. Just a little concern. It's making me a little queasy, to quote the late, great Joe Philbin. It's making me a little queasy. But hopefully we can, get out of this thing with both of those players. Because I just think, I just think both of them, Benito as well as Kirk Merritt, I just think they, skill set wise, I think, on offense and defense, I think they're definitely worth a further investment. So hopefully we can make it out of this thing with them on the roster. So, but we'll see, man.
All right, so let's go over a little bit of the media, because if you guys remember, even Peter King selected us to take the 4th seed overall and win the AFC East. And, I mean, a lot of people besides Peter King have been talking, because I know that got a lot of people excited. So we got a couple things here.
Got me excited.
Well,
let's get it.
I mean, the one thing is, too, what you're seeing is optimism. It's a 180 from where we were last year.
It's good to see that we're getting respect within the media now.
So here we go, guys.
Very good to see.
And this is from Barry Jackson. It says, everywhere you turn, there's someone praising the Miami Dolphins offseason, from former coaches Jimmy Johnson to former executives Charlie Casserly, who's been active on on Twitter talking about it. Louis Riddick, who me and EM hold in very high regard, and Gil Brandt, who was the former he was the one of the head scouts for the Dallas Cowboys during that Marino draft, to former players Steve Smith, Nate Burleson, Marcus Spears, to analytic websites. The Dolphins have become the darling of NFL media. And guys, see, the reason why I don't like this, I like being under the radar and being the underdog. That's where I like to be, bro, because that's where, we as a fan base have expectations, but there's no expectations on the outside. Just go out and perform. I like being the quiet, but anyways, I don't like the chatter, you know what I mean? Especially for a young team. But anyways, if you look at what Steve Smith Sr. said, he said all their needs they addressed. There are no longer any question marks with these guys. I don't know about that. I mean, we still got to figure out what this offensive line is, Mr. Smith. They did an excellent job filling these voids. It's going to be pretty special. For Jimmy Johnson, he said the first thing you look at is the coaching, which I agree with. I think Brian Flores showed at the end of the years that he can win. I agree with. He can coach football. Now, do they have the talent? They brought in a tremendous amount of talent. Byron Jones coming in from Dallas. They'll have as good as a secondary as there is in the division, maybe the league. I agree if everyone stays healthy.
Mm-hmm.
As long as everyone stays healthy. Now, you've got the young quarterback with Tua Tagovailoa. 4 of the first 6 games are on the road, but I think Fitzpatrick can be a nice transition those first few weeks until Tua steps in there. Maybe more than a couple weeks. Maybe the whole season. Who knows? But I think the talent of Tua, he's going to be in the lineup eventually. They got the pass rusher, Kyle Van Noy. They brought in a lot of players, a couple of tackles to shore up the offensive line. They brought in the center from New England, Ted Karras. Offensive line should be strong. They're going to have a talented football team, and we know they're well coached. That is the key thing, the coaching. So, hey, they may not be ready this year, but I think they'll eventually challenge. Howie Long says Miami made big strides with the draft. They added up on young talent. And then you got Charlie Casserly. I mean, he said the Dolphins improved the most of any team this offseason. Nate Burleson.
I would agree with that.
And I would agree with that too. He said, I know some people are saying you're the ridiculous take guy. And I actually retweeted this clip on Twitter. He said, I was trying to figure out some parallels between the dynasty that we're used to seeing, which is the Patriots, and when that started, and something that's similar in place. It could fall apart for Baltimore, San Francisco. We've seen teams struggle to get back. What about the Dolphins? Let's start at the starting quarterback position. There was that old vet with young Tom Brady. There was Drew Bledsoe and Brady. There's Fitz, and there's also Tua. Fitzpatrick is a guy that's going to lead the way. Tua is the guy that needs to prove himself, just like Brady needed to prove himself. They add to the offensive line with the first couple picks. They go get a running game to help with the young quarterback, kind of like the Patriots did back in the day. What about the coaching staff? You have a defensive coordinator who was coached and mentored by an absolute legend. That's Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells. Well, how about Brian Flores with Bill Belichick? The similarities are there. What about the season? They were terrible last year. They went 5-11. Do you know what the Patriots were before they won their first Super Bowl? They were 5-11.
5-11.
Right now, the Miami Dolphins have all the pieces. If you know the Patriots set up their dynasty, right now the Miami Dolphins are in position to do that. Let's not act like Tua ain't a winner. Tua has proven to be one of the best quarterbacks. And for analytics sites, Pro Football Focus said Miami is the second most improved team in football behind only the Arizona Cardinals, and used a complex formula to assert that the Dolphins have a 36.7% chance of making the playoffs. So, I mean, you look at it, bro. I mean, you even look at here. You got PFF writer Eric Egger noted, metrics show Jones was the third most valuable cornerback in the NFL over the past 2 seasons. And with Jones, Xavier Howard, and first-round pick Noah Benogany, and this doesn't mention it, but I will, and Nick Needham, it gives Brian Flores the kind of secondary he enjoyed while winning Super Bowls with the Patriots the last decade. On the offensive side, the selection of Tua Tagovailoa significantly lifts the floor for them at the league's most important position. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been pretty good the past 2 seasons, generating more than 3 wins above replacement despite playing only 1,305 snaps. And that 3 wins above replacement is 16th among quarterbacks. So his individual floor is very low, but the presence of Tua means the Dolphins very likely won't experience the lowest of lows, which should help them against a schedule that would likely include games against Jarrett Stidham or Cam Newton twice, Josh Allen twice, Sam Darnold twice, Gardner Minshew, Tyrod Taylor, Jared Goff, and Joe Burrow. I'll take Drew Lock out of there because he'll be up there. Seldom will you find such optimism about a team that most betting sites predict will win no more than 6 games. But for at least for the spring and summer, the Dolphins are consistently being called winners. And like we said, Peter King, he put out his article, and he expects the Dolphins to take the 4th seed. Ian, your thoughts on that before we move on to the next article?
Man, wow. I agree. I'm gonna have to scale back my enthusiasm a little bit. I agree with a lot of what, in particular, Nate Burleson said. because I look at the infusion of talent and I look at the scheme alone. Well, I'm talking about defense in particular. I look at the infusion of talent and the scheme alone. And if you look at, when I'm evaluating our year this year, when I'm trying to make a projection, I'm coming from the standpoint within the division. And I look at the other three teams. There's a level of uncertainty at the quarterback position on all three of those teams. So I look at, again, the Cam Newton. We've highlighted his struggles over the course of his career, accuracy issues. Obviously, Josh Allen was the most inaccurate starter last year in the NFL, and we don't know what Sam Darnold is going to be. We don't know. I mean, he has Adam Gase as his offensive coordinator / head coach. We obviously don't have a lot of faith in Adam Gase. So there's a level of uncertainty there as well. So I look at from a schematic standpoint, and the infusion and talent on the defensive side of the football alone. Now, we have the perfect formula, I think, to give these quarterbacks major issues when we face them, this year. So I'm gonna, again, I have to scale back my expectations just a tad bit because I can't go there and say we're gonna win the division definitively. But I think we'll be highly competitive within this division. I will not be surprised if we win the division. Again, my projection is between 7 and 10 wins. I think we will fall between 8-8, 9-7. But again, that should be enough, to be in contention in the division as well as be in contention for that final wild card spot. So it's very encouraging, very good to hear. We're getting a lot of praise from, NFL people. You know what I mean? They're recognizing how, Brian Flores' skill set as a coach. They recognize the infusion of talent. They recognize the overall scheme. They're giving Ryan Fitzpatrick some credit, as well as recognizing what kind of talent we have in Tua Tagovailoa waiting in the wings. But it's encouraging to hear. It's very good to hear. But I agree with a lot of what these individuals highlight in this article. But I can't say I agree with them 100%.
Yeah, my floor is 7 wins and my ceiling is 9. I mean, I have to take in how shortened the season was. Like I said on the Gridiron Brawl tonight, even simple things as communication, bro. These guys haven't been able on the defensive side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball, with the offensive line, with the secondary, with the linebackers, defensive line, the offensive line. They all haven't been able to even have pre-snap games, pre-season snaps where they could get the communication down, let alone where you got a bunch of rookies that are going to be taking snaps. We'll get into that. But so, I'm 10 and, those first 7 weeks, I believe, 4 of them are on the road. And, that's, it's going to be a little uphill battle, man.
Definitely.
So, I mean,
but we talked about this before. I'm glad that we get that kind of test early on. That way we can get a better.
And hey, that test is what might lead to Tua starting with that Jets game. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Maybe.
But also today, Tony Romo had a lot of praise for us, bro. Tony Romo today, because with the shuffling of the announced teams, he said the Dolphins, for the first time in a while, will get CBS's lead announcing team Sunday with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. And Romo expressed considerable optimism about the Dolphins. And he said, when you get 6 picks in the top 70, and remember, with adding Lynn Bowden, we now have 7 players in the top 80. And what they've done in free agency, sometimes you look and say teams overspend, but I will tell you right now, I think the Dolphins have done without evaluating talent they drafted. But the position, it's smart. It's a big boy game. It really is. It's O-line, D-line. To me, you've got to get offensive linemen, and you got to be able to cover and to get your D linemen and to play hard. If you get a special guy lucky enough to get a top 5, 10 pick, then that's a little bit more random. What they're doing, they're building it the right way. I feel like you are going to see Miami come on. They will be better this year. There's no question they're going to be a much improved team. The way they're doing it is what I'm most impressed with. You'll see them develop. Remember, the 49ers are bad for a little bit and then really good. They kept building that defensive line, offensive line. They did the things that I think win in the National Football League. I think they're going to be much improved. I think you're going to see Miami take a big leap this year. And in 2 years, which is what I've been saying in 2 years, because I said not this year, next year is when I got the playoff and all that high expectations. He says in 2 years, you're going to see a monster leap. I think Brian Flores is doing a good job. It's a team to watch. You have a coach who comes from the Belichick tree that will be a little bit more than oriented. So they need cover corners. They went and got Byron Jones. They drafted Noah. Haven't studied him and not sure on him yet, but I will by the end of the week. We'll look at his college tape. So, I mean, you see it even from – and Tony Romo is the prophetic announcer, the guy who's calling plays before they even happen, right? So pretty high praise, right? It continues on.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it continues on.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Again, it's very, very good to hear, man. They just recognize and first off, I'm 100% agreement with Tony Romo. I think we'll be more competitive this year. I really think the division, I think we have the talent, in particular on defense, to match up with any team within the division, obviously. But overall, at the skill positions, you know what I mean, wide receivers, I think we're going to see a significant leap as long as his health permits from Preston Williams this year. I think, Mike Gesicki's of the world. If Durham Smythe can be that inline blocker that it seems like we've been searching for the last 50 years. You know what I mean? That will bode well overall for the offense as well, because that would mean, him in addition to, the line stabilizers.
I want to send a correction out too for a sec. Practice squad players can be protected more than twice. Protection goes from Tuesday to Sunday. So Monday, everyone is kind of fair game. The rule of 2 times is being called up from the practice squad to the 53, and it can't be back-to-back weeks and only 2 times, just for clarification for everyone. Okay. Anyways, continue on. Sorry about that.
Interesting. Yeah, you good, bro. But yeah, I agree with a lot. I agree with a lot what Tony Romo has to say.
Yeah,
they're just recognizing, we agree with the blueprint, how they're trying to build this thing to get our franchise back on a winning track, and a lot of good nuggets, a lot of good things to hear that he highlighted. So yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see how everything unfolds.
All right, so let's keep it rolling here before we get into the depth charts, and then we'll bring on the guys who are going to be coming backstage soon. We'll bring them on after we go through the depth charts, the captains, and a quick cap update. Let's go over we'll go over this other Barry Jackson article. He dropped some interesting news and nuggets this night. I'll read through it, EM, and then I want you to give us your thoughts. Okay?
Okay, go ahead.
So here's a little 6-pack of notes on Tuesday. It says we're going to see a lot of unusual things as the NFL attempts to play season amid worldwide health crisis. For the Dolphins, 3 rookies are expected to see significant playing time Sunday. Austin Jackson, Solomon Kinley, and Noah Igbenogany. And obviously, I think you're going to see Hunt rotated in there, especially if an injury happens on the offensive line. Raekwon Davis should get at least 10 snaps, potentially more. The Dolphins have said they want fresh bodies at the position. Devon Godshaw was a 20th in interior defensive lineman in snaps last season with 718. It's fair to wonder if he would make more plays behind the line of scrimmage if he didn't need to play quite as much. So it just goes over about how Raekwon's playing well. Talks about Malcolm Perry could conceivably get a few snaps. Either way, they're going to have to prepare for a handful of things in New England. Jason Strowbridge could get some snaps off the bench because Marion Hobby did assure everyone that he would have a role starting off in the season. Blake Ferguson will be the long snapper. Brandon Jones will be the 5th safety unless that changes in the practice this week. Robert Hunt will be the backup right tackle if Davis has an injury. And, of course, Tua Tagovailoa is one injury away to Ryan Fitzpatrick from playing. So one question this season is whether Jerome Baker takes a step from pretty good starting linebacker to something more. He made clear that Tuesday his coaches expect more. New linebacker coaches Anthony Campanelli said Jerome Baker said he gets on me about getting off blocks clean. That's one thing we're working on nonstop. Where have we heard that, Ian?
Man, where have I heard that?
Where have we heard that, Ian?
I could have sworn I have heard that somebody saying that exact same thing on this platform multiple times. I don't know who that gentleman was, but wow. But continue.
Check this out. How crazy was Dolphins cutdown day? Per sources, cornerback Tay Hayes was going to make the team and was in the defensive back Zoom meeting on Saturday afternoon when Miami traded for Lynn Bowden. The defensive back Zoom meeting was stopped minutes before the roster cutdown deadline. Hayes was told he was being released, and the meeting was restarted without him. Hayes has rejoined the Dolphins on the practice squad on Sunday. So besides Bowden, the only new players the Dolphins who were added during the week were practice squads Nick Coe and Mississippi State safety Brian Cole. And here's a little information on both. Coe had no sacks and 15 tackles in 9 games last season, but was held out of a few games because of a coach's decision that was never explained. But he had 7 sacks and 13.5 tackles for loss in 2018. He spent a few months with the Patriots this summer, in addition twice for Miami in the past month. It talks about how he's an interesting little prospect here. And then in terms of it goes over Brian Cole and how he had 67 tackles, 7.5 were for the loss, 2 sacks, 1 interception, 2 fumble recoveries, and a forced fumble last year. So he was a 7th round pick. The Miami Dolphins, who struggled for years against tight ends in the passing game, might finally have fixed that with Eric Rowe, who did an excellent work in that area after his transition to safety last October. Mike Gesicki said Eric has done a great job this entire training camp on tight ends. So after moving to safety last season, Rowe allowed 22 of 42 passes in his coverage area to be caught for 200 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. No tight end killed the Miami Dolphins last year in the second half of the season. There was a touching moment on the Dolphins Zoom call today when Brian Fitzpatrick spoke about the recent passing of his mother and how the team comfort him. He said, I definitely feel the love with the personal tragedy with my mom passing away. I think you feel it extra. There was a lot of teammates and people in the building, but it was a lot of people I've been in contact with almost in a past life on different teams and different cities. There are a lot of people that have reached out. I've been feeling a lot of love lately in that regard, just people knowing that they want to let me know that they care about me and they're thinking about me and my family. That's been good. And Brian Flores, who lost his mother last year, he offered some emotional support. And he said, I think just being a head coach and leader of this team, he's meant a lot to me and to all of us. The situation that I'm currently in or was going through, and him going through something very similar with the past year or two, just being able to sit down and have somebody to talk to about it is great. I feel like Coach Flores has really grown just as the team has really grown over the last year. Hopefully that continues, and hopefully we start to see some results on the field, because he even mentioned today in his Zoom that he gets that expectations are a little raised when there absolutely were none last year and they performed a little bit. So a little bit of quick stuff here from Barry Jackson. There's considerable optimism about new edge players Shaq Lawson and Emmanuel Ogbah. Not only are they established pass rushers, but both graded out very highly in PFF, like we've covered. So, I mean, per source, it talks about the workouts that they had today. And Bowden got a trademark on his new catchphrase, come see about it. So, I mean, Bowden looks like he's about to put it on this year. Any thoughts on that, on all that, EM?
Eric Rowe. Eric Rowe is a player that I've been talking about consistently during the offseason, who I think, him being another year in his role at that strong safety position, I look for him to – I think we'll see a significant increase in his production this year. I think he proved last year that he can pretty much – I think people they don't realize how big of an issue that has plagued the Dolphins for like 15 years. Mm-hmm. The fact that tight ends has been able to just decimate our defense. And he solved that issue for us for a good portion of last year. And I look, fast forward to this year, him being another year in that role, and his preparation for being in that role should help him should give him an advantage coming in, to start the season off. I think he needs to get better, like, down in the box in terms of run support. But, it's not, I don't think he was bad in that area, but, he needs refinement. So I saw where, this past offseason, a couple workout videos with him. And also I've heard him when on these Zoom calls talk about how that was a priority for him to improve, that aspect of his game when he's more in line or in the box, so to speak, run support. So I think Eric Rowe is in line for we could see a significant increase in his production and overall value to this defense. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I can't wait to see him on the field Sunday. And so yeah, that's pretty much what stuck out to me, bro.
All right, buddy. Do you want to go over the Dolphins depth chart first or our opponent's depth chart first?
Let's go over our depth chart first, because I saw a few surprises on both sides. I'm sure everybody else did as well, but on both sides. So this is how our depth chart lines up for week 1 right now. I think the surprises that he's referring to is, well, it's not really a surprise. We kind of expected it to an extent. Solomon Kinley is starting at right guard. Robert Hunt is at right tackle, and Adam Pankey, a true tackle, is basically they moved him into guard. Durham Smythe is listed as the tight end 1. Emmanuel Ogba, they have him lined up in the 3 tech. And then they have Shaq Lawson standing up as an outside linebacker, along with Kyle Van Noy and Landon Roberts and Jerome Baker in the middle. And then obviously here's just a little quick peek at your specialists. Jakeem Grant, kickoff returns and punt returns. Noah Benogany is the number 2 guy on kickoff returns. And then crazily enough, they have Preston Williams listed number 2 in punt returns. But back up here to the offense and the defense. Go over what stuck out to you, my friend. Well, number 1, what stuck out to me on offense was the formational. The formation, this 21 personnel package. That's what initially stuck out to me, because I think, we talked about this before. Once Chan Gailey was hired, a lot of people made the assumption that we were going to base out of a spread format, and I was consistent on that. I think that was a premature assumption. And if you look at this, if this is accurate, now this could be smoke and mirrors, but if this is accurate, this is a 21 personnel package, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 2 wide receivers. What that tells me is that they want to establish a more traditional power running game out of this formation, because you have 2 running backs. Okay. Obviously you look at the heavy deployment from an I formation, a strong formation, with the inline tight end, and in particular, Durham Smythe.
Y'all ready for a lot of dives this year?
in particular, in addition to not only the formation, but the fact that Durham Smythe is listed as the starter out of this base is what's letting me know that they will base out of this formation, in particular early on, because I've been consistent all offseason that this would be the approach of the Miami Dolphins, the 2020 Miami Dolphins, is to establish that physical running game. And this, in my opinion, in terms of, there's other formations you can use. It's not only 21, but you can go 12, 13 personnel that are more packaged, that are more power-based, because you have more girth, with more size on the field with the 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends or whatnot, whatever formation you opt to choose. But the establishment of that physical nature, as well as that power running game, that power scheme, and in addition to the formation, Durham Smythe, but look at the profiles of the offensive linemen that they have brought in. They're all better at moving people in the run game than they are pass protection.
The only one who hasn't really displayed it was Austin Jackson. That's all.
Right. With the exception of Austin Jackson, but everybody else, they're what their tape suggests.
And they're all big.
Run blockers.
They're like even Jesse Davis they're all big maulers. They're all big. You look at the interior guys. They're all those phone booth mauler guys that we've highlighted, and then you got Jesse Davis and Austin Jackson on the outside who can get to that second level and work in space. So, I mean, it is the foundation of that power gap scheme we've been highlighting since, the offseason, especially when the Howard signing came through and you saw the offensive line start to fall in place. So, I'm in total agreement with you, bro.
Now, I think philosophically, the approach is going to continue to be multiple.
It's a
situationally.
Say it. What is it?
This will be a fluid situation as well.
There you go.
You know what I mean? It'll be week to week. It'll be matchup based.
Buddy, it won't even just be week to week. This will be half to half.
It'll be snap to snap. It'll be snap to snap.
One of the reasons why Flores highlighted bringing in Chan Gailey was his ability to adapt in game.
Exactly.
Chan Gailey was Chad O'Shea was very stubborn, very in his ways, wasn't making the proper wasn't adapting properly and making the proper changes at half, let alone quarter to quarter, snap to snap, like we just highlighted. So Chan Gailey is basically a man with a bag of tricks.
Exactly.
And that's why you're going to see so many different formations throughout the season, even through the first half of the season, and even throughout the game, guys. Like, don't think, like you said, don't think 12, 13 man are totally out of the question here, especially when you got guys like Durham Smythe, who he's been working with Mike Gesicki on, increase in developing his ability to crispen his routes out, develop softer hands, watch the ball into his chest a little bit more. And on the flip side, he's been helping Gesicki become a better blocker. And now by the sounds of it, it sounds like Durham Smythe was flashing in camp. So, if you can get those guys who can become legitimate 3-down tight ends, you're going to have something serious with this offense when you expect
it. It just adds other dimensions to your offense. You know what I mean? And teams can't figure out what you're going to do. You're keeping them off balance in terms of how they scheme you. So hopefully both.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. I was done, bro. Go ahead, bro.
Let's talk about Ogba and Van Noy for a sec.
That is somewhat surprising to me because first off, again, this format is based out of 34 format. So all the people that was coming at me for making that statement, months ago, okay, well, there you see it. You have the evidence in front of you. This is the preference of this coaching staff is to base out of this 3-4 format. Now, the personnel grouping is somewhat, a little different than what I would have opted to deploy because I think when you're talking about the interior of a 34, in my opinion now, and I'm not a coach. I don't have any NFL experience. I'm just saying based off my preference. I would rather prefer all three of my inline guys to be 300 pounds or more. I just like that heavy, I just like that heavier personnel.
And they eat space a lot easier.
Exactly. And that'll aid in keeping your linebackers cleaner. You know what I mean? So, but when we're looking at the approach that the Dolphins appear to be taking, especially early on, I would have had Ogba being lined up in line like that as a 3 to 5 technique role. That was a little surprising for me because I thought that Ogba would be, because him being the better athlete out of all of our edge rushers, in my opinion, I thought he would be better suited as a stand-up outside linebacker because you can take advantage of that athleticism in coverage in addition to his ability to impact the passer, the quarterback. But with that being said, the more film I was thinking about this, and I went back before I came back home, before I left Arkansas. I was going over, some film of Ogba. He has got a lot. I had to refresh my memory. He has got a lot of experience lined up in line. And even though he is a little undersized for my likings, to be deployed primarily as a 3 technique.
He's still got the power. He's still got the
He's
power.
strong enough.
Yeah.
He's strong enough to hold up and he's still strong enough to hold up in the run game and deploy those 2-gap principles that this coaching test seems to prioritize. But he also has the ability, okay, from an athletic standpoint, his first step quickness, you can deploy him more in a 1-gap role in addition to his 2-gap responsibilities. So what this does is it gives you some versatility in terms of pass rush out of this when they opt to go into their base, because his ability to move, his lateral ability and his first step quickness is gonna be a problem. It's gonna compromise a lot of offensive linemen on that interior.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that just frees up with Van Noy on the outside and Shaq Lawson in theory now on the outside. That'll ensure them more one-on-one type opportunities, and also that they can take advantage of not only his ability to 1 and 2 gap, Christian Wilkins as well, because I don't think people realize just how good of an athlete he is at 300+ pounds. So he has that dual ability, that 1 gap and 2 gap ability. His first step quickness is very good as well for a man his size. So that's why we see the weight loss this offseason, because I think they were going to deploy him more in a 1-gap type of format, as well as Agba. That could have been a plan. It could have been, it's just pure speculation on my part. But it makes sense. In theory, you can see on paper, well, this gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility. You know what I mean? When you're opting to go out of your base. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to bring in.
And then you just kick them, and then you just kick because we're going to be running 4-3 bases as well.
Right.
And then you just kick Agba outside.
Exactly.
And you kick Shaq Lawson, you keep him on the outside on the other end. And then you just move. I would then probably move Kyle to. I would probably have him as my Mike in that if I'm going in a 4-3.
I would too. And see, I think if Vince Beagle could see if now when you're talking about the interior linebackers, you're off the ball stacked interior linebackers with Landon Roberts. No surprise there for me, but Jerome Baker. I guess they're going to continue that, Jerome Baker experiment. I wouldn't do that, but I think Vince Beagle's injury, I think he would have been deployed more in Jerome Baker's role this year.
I agree.
Again, this is pure speculation, but if you look at
to be honest, you know what I'd be doing right now? I'd be putting Jerome Baker back. I'm moving Kyle Van Noy inside, and I'm moving Andrew Van Ginkel outside, standing up.
But there's a little in terms of Van Ginkel. Now I know we've heard multiple reports that he's improved significantly, and Flores has gone out of his way to talk up this kid, and I hope that translates to the field. But in terms of him holding up and run support, there's a level of uncertainty there when you're compared to Van Noy or Shaq Lawson.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when we're going to 3-4 right now. I'm talking about when you're going to the 3-4. I'm taking Kyle Van Noy off the stand-up, moving him inside where Jerome is, and then I'm putting Van Ginkel on the outside in that 3-4 is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I hear you. But
just because Jerome Baker, we know what we're getting in the run game with Jerome Baker, bro. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
definitely. I agree with that. Yeah, but I was looking more of I was trying to find a more suitable. Someone that's better in run support than Van Ginkel would be on the edge. So I was thinking, but again, I look at the lack of depth. See, this is why I wanted to get a true prototypical nose in the offseason by free agency. I would rather have a veteran presence in the middle of this defense because our depth, I think the reason why Raekwon Davis is not starting is because of the depth, the lack of depth that we have on this team at that zero technique position.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe if they would have had another presence there, especially a veteran, even if you opt to start Devon Gottschall, which I thought this would be the approach. I thought that initially he would be the starter as that true nose. We'll see how that plays out. But I think Raekwon Davis would be starting right now. I truly believe that. And Agba would be the outside stand-up rusher. Yeah. So, but, unfortunately Vince Beagle went down, but whatever.
All right.
But hopefully, but you can see, on paper, this gives them, in particular, in line and on their defensive line, this gives them tremendous amount of flexibility to where they can impact the quarterback in a passing type situation out of their base from an interior standpoint. So,
and just to give everyone a quick update with our 53-man and with the practice squad, we now have the 9th most cap space in the NFL. Right now, we're sitting at $17.09 million. And just to remind everyone, the cap right now is about $198 million, but they're talking next year could be down to $176 to $178. So we will want to roll over some. But there's just a quick cap update for everyone after the practice squad and the 53-man has been announced.
That's what's up, man.
And before we, because we'll save the Patriots depth chart for everyone we're about to bring on right now. But just another quick update regarding the 53-man guys. Your offensive captains this year are Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ted Karras, and Jesse Davis. Your defensive captains are Bobby McCain, Calvin Oy, and Landon Roberts. And your special teams are Kevon Frazier and Clayton Fledgem. So there you go, guys. So let's bring on a couple people here. We'll get their thoughts on everything we went through, and then we'll move on and we'll break down the Patriots' current unofficial depth chart. So first of all, we got the homie, Havoc One. What's good, buddy?
What's good,
What's
fellas?
good, Mom? What's good, homie?
How y'all doing today, man?
Gucci,
Breathing,
man.
bro.
Gucci.
Hey, just so you know, they're gonna release that PS5 prices tomorrow, coming out real soon.
Oh yeah, really? You saw you have a confirmation?
Oh yeah, the PS5 prices are coming out tomorrow.
When's the pre-order?
I don't know about that. All I know is the prices are coming out, so the pre-order should be coming out shortly after that.
Nice.
Good news.
That's what I'm saying.
And then we got the leader of the mod squad, the man with the golden wrench, if I could give them out, Rhino Sith. What's good, homie? And Rhino has muted his mic and stepped away. So
I'm here.
Oh, what's good, homie?
Fins up. Holland's made a team. That's what's up.
Put some respect on that, man. Are you look? Are you gonna do the right thing? Are you gonna do the right thing?
Hell no.
Put
Okay.
some lemon pepper on that man's name.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
No, not really. I mean, good for him. He earned it. I mean, at the end of the day, he came out and he earned the spot. So you got to give it up to the man. Went from Wingstop employee to Wingstop franchisee and plantation at the Commons. So good on him.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Show the future.
The Commons.
All right. And then tonight we're also bringing on my buddy over from Dolphins Brawl on the Brawl Network. We recorded a podcast last night that should be coming out hopefully tomorrow. This guy.
You should be ashamed.
You can find. He's got a couple articles over on the Brawl Network that have reached over 20,000 views. So you can find him over on the Brawl Network with his writing stuff, with his writing pieces, and then on Dolphins Brawl, me and him are a part of the new team moving forward on the audio podcast. So please welcome for the first time the homie David Gregg. What's up, buddy?
Yo, what's up, man? How's it going?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Yeah, what's good?
Welcome. What's going on, man?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too,
guys.
Yeah, likewise.
So let's get it started then with the freshest subject that we're just going over. Your guys' thoughts. I guess we'll start with you, David. Then we'll go to Havoc. Then we'll go to Rhino. Give me your thoughts on, and I'll pull it up for you guys so you can have it in front of you. Give me your thoughts on the current Miami Dolphin depth chart. And like I said, David, we'll start with you.
The first thing I would say is I actually agree with where they're putting Shaq Lawson at the outside linebacker, only because I like his speed and his pass coverage ability. I think he's got better pass coverage ability than Ogba there. And then I think Ogba has really good strength and like that quick first hit. He got good lift. So I like, he is a little undersized playing, in a, 3-5 technique. but I think he can hold his own there, and I really do like Shaq Lawson outside. Adam Pankey that threw me way off. I didn't see that coming. The only thing I can take from that is maybe, I hear it's a little bit easier sliding into like right guard from the right tackle. So maybe they're hoping they can put him there, and then, they feel that Robert Hunt is a better option at right tackle. So, I mean, that's the only thing that Adam Pankey was. So that's the only thing that makes sense to me with that.
Havoc, your thoughts, brother?
I mean, number one, it's don't believe the fool's gold. These depth charts, especially a week out. I mean, don't be surprised if you turn on your television set and this defense has a totally different personnel than what you see on this paper right here. When I see Durham Smythe at number one, I mean, that probably to me means that Durham Smythe is going to be in on like I formation or any type of running power formations is going to be his role. And Gesicki's going to get, much like last season, he's going to line up in that slot probably a whole lot more this season than he did last season, particularly if Smythe is the blocker that they say he was going in this training camp. Outside of that, I mean, Jerome Baker, inside linebacker, we'll see how long we'll try that for. I don't know I know he has like a all pro attitude, but I don't know if he's learned how to unstick himself from linemen. So, but I mean, good on him for putting in the work. I see him in the Dolphins videos. Always the most positive dude out there. So
that's definitely a fluid situation right there.
Yeah, that's a highly fluid situation right there. You're talking about Jerome Baker and the inside linebacker, but clearly he has a spot on the team, and I'm just looking forward to it because this is clearly the theme of our defense is going to be our versatility and our ability to match the offensive personnel on the field with a variety of formations. So, I'm gonna hold my breath until game day and see what the actual starting lineup is.
Rhino, brother, what were your thoughts on the depth chart?
Yeah, I think the number one thing and surprise to me is Cox, that we're keeping a fullback. I think Smythe being the starting tight end on the list is kind of a surprise. If you add them up together, it could tell you that we're going to be rush kind of team. I don't think that would be a shock. But it's interesting. It's kind of interesting. We'll see what's going to happen. And I agree with Havoc and everyone else. It's kind of like, do we believe it or don't we? I guess we'll find out on Sunday.
And
can I throw something in real quick with that
Go
tight
ahead,
end?
brother.
So the thing with the tight end is so last year, Durham Smythe was listed as our number one tight end for a lot of the season, even though he was only playing 44% of the snaps. There was 2 games, week 2 and week 6, that Nick O'Leary was listed as the starting tight end. He played 25% of the snaps and 23% of the snaps in those games. So just because they're listing one guy as the starter doesn't mean that he's going to be the guy who's out there constantly on the field.
It's a fluid situation. That's why we said this earlier, right?
Yeah.
It really is, right? Because, I tell people all the time, Mike Gesicki lined up in the slot and on the boundary last year more than any tight end in the NFL. So if you look at the opt-out of Alan Hearns, if you look at the opt-out of Albert Wilson, and if any injury happens to any boundary guys, all that's going to do is increase Gesicki's workload in the snap, in the slot and on the boundary. And let's be honest, Durham Smythe is the inline guy. Mike Gesicki is the offset guy. That's basically it right now. It doesn't look like Gesicki's going to be turning in. Now, I may be wrong by the end of the season, but if you want to hear my take on this, it seems like, and this is off training camp reports, not this depth chart. When I heard that they were working with each other, Gesicki to help Durham Smythe improve his route running in his hands, and Durham Smith to help improve Gesicki's blocking, it seemed like I heard more about Durham Smythe displaying hands and making plays than I did Gesicki blowing up anyone in run block sets or anything like that. You know what I mean? So just based off training camp reports, it seems they were teaching each other, but Durham Smythe was translating it into training camp more than what. And again, we only got 8 to 10% of all the information, so we won't know until Gesicki's out there and ask him to hit someone in the effing mouth. You know what I mean? So we won't know that until then. But it does seem like whatever Gesicki was doing or helping him with, it translated. And if both of these guys, like I said before, if both guys can become 3 down tight ends, and you add in the red zone threat that is Adam Shaheen on a fade route, all of a sudden we got some big bodies in the red zone where we might be settling for field goals a whole hell of a lot less than we have been over the last couple of years.
And you have a legitimate, in terms of personnel grouping, you have a legitimate 13 personnel packages you can actually threaten the defense with.
And tendencies are hard to read, right? Tendencies of which guys on the field at what time are way harder to read, right?
But you think Gesicki can do that?
I mean, he's got the size, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
And
got
the strength and the upper body strength.
And how many bench reps? Didn't he put up a ton of bench reps in him?
Yeah,
Can he learn how to bend though?
See that? No, and the other thing is, can he learn? Here, me and EM talk about this privately. With you got an offensive lineman, tight ends. Now you got to learn how. It's an art in terms of getting your hands under the pad properly, but also learning how to hold without getting flagged for holding. That's an art form you see some of the best guys to get away with too.
Yep.
And so it's all about developing that, man.
In addition to that, Gesicki's 6'5" and change. Again, another tall player. Players transitioning from the collegiate to pro level, it's like clockwork. You can book it. They're going to struggle with pad level. And I've seen Gesicki on tape. It's not necessarily he's just weak, because he has the requisite football strength.
He's high up.
It's his technique, hand placement, and his struggle with pad level. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so hopefully he has worked on that enough to where he's somewhat comparable. But again, if you're deploying that 13 personnel package, you can just always have him as the offset guy. Have him on the end of the formation. You know what I mean? Where he won't necessarily be taking on guys, a linebacker or a lineman. You know what I'm saying? He'll be maybe that he can pick out that safety in terms of his blocking assignment. So, but it just gives you a lot of flexibility. If all 3 of these guys, not just those 2, but all 3 of them can display that they have that dual skill set, I'm telling you, man, this would be a legitimate package we could deploy in really, really threatened teams.
And what I wanted to ask you guys was, am I the only one who cringed when I look at punt returner and I see Preston Williams as number 2?
No, I don't even want to talk. I didn't even want to bring that up, bro. I didn't even want to bring that up, man.
Actually, I didn't even want. I'm not even really trying to see Jakeem Grant on punt or kick returns with his hands, to be honest. In my opinion, but it's also, I think in terms of Gesicki, Durham Smythe, showing his ability as a blocker only helps him, because as much as blocking is about technique, a lot of it's just about desire. And even a Hall of Fame tight end, Shannon Sharp, said when he talked about his blocking, hey man, I just got in the way. So certain tight ends, that's their priority. Hey man, I'm just y'all know the vibes. I'm just here to get in the way. I'm my money is made up the middle, which is how basically Shannon Sharp made a living in his career. And you're looking for a guy like Gesicki who can go out to that slot, get a lot of disadvantages because of his size, take advantage of it.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
That's a big misser for me. I mean, Gesicki has everything you want from size, strength, everything. I just don't understand why he's so substandard in terms of blocking, bro. I just don't get it.
So, your guys' thoughts on the 4 practice squad players we protected this week? Tay Hayes, Chris Myrick, Jake Ruddick, Ken Webster.
I understand Tay Hayes. I understand Jake Ruddick. Maybe even a little bit Webster, but I don't know about the tight end. That just seems weird.
Yeah, the Myrick actually threw me off for a little bit too, to be honest with you.
I mean, it looks. I I don't know if we're in a situation particularly like we're all high on Benito Jones, we're all on Kirk Merritt, but it's not like there's preseason footage, circulating amongst the league of guys on practice squad, and particularly in a season that we're in. I think teams are more likely to take a flyer out on a veteran that could pick things up more quickly than, take a flyer out on a practice squad guy that doesn't even have preseason tape. So, I see the method behind the madness a little bit, but as much as I see the method behind the madness, I'd like us to, consider a couple guys as, like permanent lock type guys. And you're looking at Ruddock as a guy that's probably going to keep that lock on the entirety of the season. I look to see, hopefully a guy like maybe Merritt or a guy like Benito Jones can get in that territory too. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm a little confused by Chris Myrick on it, and a little confused by Ken Webster. But Tay Hayes and Jake Ruddock, I mean, that makes sense. Tay Hayes would be on the roster if we didn't make the trade for Lynn Bowden. So
can you change the protected list at any time?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know.
Every Monday you can, or Tuesday you can change it.
Okay.
And
Let's
Webster.
Let's go. Let's get your thoughts, David.
So I mean, I was talking to you last night. Tay Hayes was, he's my favorite guy on that practice squad. I love him. He played great for us in the, he was only with us 2 weeks, but he played great. He had a nice bad ball down against Brady, week 17. I think he was targeted 17 times, only allowed 3 receptions. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Ken Webster, he played fairly well for us last year too. He was also with the Patriots early on last season. That's where we signed him from. And so, maybe with like the Patriots losing some of their secondaries to opt-outs, Xavier Howard having his injuries all the time, it makes sense that you want to protect him from someone like the Patriots coming in and poaching him, because Belichick already knows him, especially if you start having injuries in that secondary. Rudolph makes sense because COVID, you need to have a third QB who knows your system. He was here last year. He's been in and out with us all offseason, so that makes sense. The Chris Myrick, I don't understand that. Coaches obviously saw something in him that none of us saw, but I mean, I would think that Gesicki, Smythe, and Shaheem was good, so I didn't see the need for a fourth one, but again, they obviously saw something in him.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, Ken Webster, because
he's getting burnt. He's getting burnt. Those
he was getting. They was roasting him over that rotisserie grill all damn camp, according to reports. And the fact that they would prioritize him over like Benito Jones or especially Kirk Merritt, that is very surprising for me.
But David has a good point. It could be because of that could be a game of trying to keep him away from the Patriots.
Yeah, that is true.
Because familiarity, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
And we all know Belichick can polish a turd into gold, right? So,
and also he can go reveal intimate details about within the organization the week before the game. So that's in play as well. So
agreed. Well, I wanted to give you guys quick thoughts. What were you guys' thoughts about? We highlighted earlier about how we had 5 tryouts today. Adam Redmond, the guy who Cincinnati cut, the center guard to make room for Shaq Calhoun, and then we had 3 other centers and a guard. I just wanted to get your guys' quick thoughts on the fact that we brought in 5 interior guys because, like we highlighted, there's really no one behind Dieter and Karras that can play center if an injury happens there.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, they're just trying to build a database of guys they can call on the fly if they have to. I wouldn't necessarily look too deep into it. Right now they're just taking flyers on guys, trying to see who's in shape, who's not, who can, on a drop of a dime, who can get on the flight and who can't right now. So, maybe just the center position, or interior offensive line, I should say. Maybe that's just, the first batch of guys that they got lined up. But next week, it can be a totally different position. So I'm not looking too much into it. They're just trying to make sure they're doing their due diligence.
It's Assad to me. I would love to know the logic. I guess we'll find out eventually, but it does seem a bit odd to me.
What are your thoughts, David?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. Like, if it was a normal season, maybe you could say, okay, maybe they're just not trusting Dieter at center. They really don't have much backup for guards besides Dieter. Like we talked about earlier, they've got Pinky in as a guard, and no one saw that coming. So, but with COVID going on, I would think really they're just trying to, like you said, build a database so that if Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever, when they do tests, if Dieter and Karras both get positive, whether it's a true positive or false positive, and well, maybe not Sunday morning because that'd be a little late, but Wednesday or Thursday, they have a list of players. Okay, we can bring in one of these 5 guys, catch them up to speed, and at least have someone to throw in, to take snaps.
Yeah. All right, so let's go over the official depth chart that it's literally called the unofficial depth chart on the official website of the New England Patriots. I'm not even joking. Look at it. It says unofficial depth chart.
Freaking
But then
Belichick.
if you go to the tab up here, it says official website of the New England Patriots. So you figure
So it's the official, unofficial depth chart.
Exactly. So yeah, really, eh? So we'll go through it here quick. So no real surprises. The offensive line is clearly one of the strongest suits on this team. They got N'Keal Harry and Julian Edmond lined up as those receivers. They're running Sony Michel and James White out of the backfield, EM. You look at this team, and then you go to defense. You don't really have anyone that's good against the run outside of Lawrence Guy in that front. That's other than the secondary and the offensive line, this is a pretty thin team, EM, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, if you just look, I mean, I didn't have to go into the official, unofficial, quote unquote, depth chart to understand that this team, we can see, I fully anticipate in terms of production based off what they did, what they were able to achieve last year. I think we're going to see, huge a drop-off from where they were last year overall as a defense, because look at the players that they were able to lose by free agency. Danny Shelton, Jamie Collins, Kyle Van Noy. Look at the opt-out of Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung. These were all key components of their defense. Championship caliber defense. And, if I'm a Patriots fan, I am very concerned going, for this season, because again, the uncertainty with Cam Newton, in my opinion, I know a lot of people I've listened to, I don't know, you have all these people in NFL circles that still think, on these, big platforms, Fox, FS1, ESPN, et cetera, they think the 2020 version of Cam Newton is going to be more like the 2015 version. I emphatically disagree with that, but we'll see how he looks on Sunday. But overall, the lack of, they still have Julian Edelman.
I wanted to ask you, are you surprised that they're running a 21-man personnel with 2 running backs and no one true fullback back there?
No. Now that I think that's more smoke and mirrors than anything.
Fluid situation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it's unofficial. That's why it's unofficial.
That's definitely fluid. I think that is more smoke and mirrors than anything. But in terms of 21 personnel, though, I do anticipate them. I don't think it'll be 2 like traditional running backs. I think it'll be a running back and a fullback, or a like a, the Patriots are known for like, using a linebacker at fullback or a tight end at fullback, et cetera, et cetera. So the formation, I think, is accurate, but the personnel group, I think, is somewhat smoke and mirrors.
And look what they did here. At the tight end, they didn't separate the rookies, Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene, who again were drafted in a very weak tight end class. They have them both listed at tight end too, and they did the same with Jared Stidham and Brian Hoyer. And Jared Stidham's missed the last couple weeks of camp with some kind of rib injury. So, they brought in J.J. Taylor because they had to put Damian Harris on IR because he's expected to miss the first 2 to 4 weeks. And that's a running back they expected a lot out of this year. So especially because Sony Michel, from what I understand, Sony Michel is a couple fumbles away from losing that job to Damian Harris when he comes back. That's basically the notion coming out of camp. But you look at that offensive line, EM, it's still a pretty decent offensive line.
Oh, absolutely. In particular on the interior. Oh, definitely. That's why I think that group, the 21 personnel formation, I think that's accurate. I just think the personnel grouping is a little off. But Brian Flores, when I interviewed him, he said that we have philosophically, we have a fundamental understanding of what New England is what they're going to do. But it's just the uncertainty is in terms of players that they have with all the players that they brought in through the draft and the players that they had on their roster previously. But, those guys that were depth players with the defections they had in free agency, those are now starters.
Yeah.
Look
at the depth on that offensive line, my friend. Look at it. They got Hejati Furholt playing he's the set number 2 guy for center and right guard. These guys are 2 injuries away from the interior to being up the creek with no paddle.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And also, David Andrews, injury, durability concerns. Shaq Mason, durability issues.
I was pretty high on Justin Herron coming out of the draft. I mean, you could kick him into right guard if you really want to, but I mean, they are very, very thin in terms of offensive line depth.
I agree.
Let's get your guys. We'll do the offense, and we'll go over the defense. Let's get your guys' thoughts on this. Havoc, when you look at this New England offense, what do you see?
I mean,
beside a really bad receiver core.
I mean, I see good popcorn watching when the likes of Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, and Noah Benogany get their hands on N'Keal Harry, Julian Edelman, and some other people. I don't even know. Some guys. I think that's gonna be.
Bro, go to your local Lowe's on Saturday. They'll be stocking the shelves.
Bro. Someone's gotta take that. Someone's gotta take that job. Now that old 7-Eleven got a job with the Jets. What's his name? Chris Hogan, old 7-Eleven. Yeah, always open. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, it looks, and you're talking about, we're looking to deploy a lot of that press coverage, and even when Cam Newton was in his highlight, his peak years, he wasn't the most particularly accurate quarterback. It's never been something that you've thought about when you thought about Cam Newton. You talk about the injuries he had, basically not just last season, but the season before that. It's hard for me to see how, particularly against our secondary, how is he going to get any space to make some throws? Now, that being said, I just think New England's they're just gonna throw the kitchen sink and figure out what fits, because they're gonna have to be highly versatile to get some traction with their offense, because I don't see anyone offensively that really puts any fear in my heart. So
absolutely nobody.
Yeah, no one puts any fear in my heart on this offensive side.
I think while they're healthy, we talked about this before, Reason. The interior, obviously, offensively, the interior of their offensive line is their strong suit, and I think they're going to opt to try to test our interior D line early on Sunday. But other than that, I'm like, I lose absolutely no sleep over this team. So,
Rhino, what are your thoughts, brother?
I just think when you start off with the depth chart and people like Chung and Hightower aren't on the list on the team, it's hard to overcome that, I think. And the only things that really concern me about the Patriots are the offensive line. And the two corners. That would be it. McCourty and Gilmore. Those are the three things that would concern me. That's it.
Mm-hmm. We'll get into the defense in a sec here. David, what are you? Where are you at when you look at this offense right now? This official depth chart.
Sorry, I didn't know we were just doing just offense. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
Me too.
So for me, I look at it like this. Just for the sake of argument, let's say that Cam Newton, he's not the 0-8 player for the last 8 games that he was on and no touchdowns over the past 4 games. Let's say he's back to his 2015 MVP form, right? Who is he throwing to? He's got the same problem that Tom Brady has had for how many years? His number 1 receiver is 34 years old. His number 2 receiver is N'Keal Harry, who was hot and cold last year. Well, lukewarm cold, really. He's got 2 tight ends who are rookies, and then they do have a good running back room. So, I mean, the only way that New England is going to be winning games is with a good run game and Cam Newton running ball. And James White, he's not Christian McCaffrey. Like, that's their guy who's going to be catching passes out of the backfield, but he's not going to be carrying, a team like McCaffrey can. So, unless, Miami's issue the past several years, and especially last year, was stopping the run, we added a lot of guys who can stop the run. Kyle Van Noy was number 5 last year in outside linebackers and stopping the run. So hopefully we can address that. But I don't expect to see them winning many games if they can't establish just a ground and pound offense and early on.
Yeah, and I agree with you here because, when you're talking about his best season since 2015, it was 2018. And, he had Norv Turner, right, who's a very quarterback-friendly, offensive-friendly coordinator. And, we talked about this on the podcast. I brought this up. 775 of Cam's total 3,395 passing yards that season came from Christian McCaffrey, which is about 22.8%. 6 of Cam's 24 passing touchdowns, which is about 25%, came from Christian McCaffrey. 95 of Cam's 320 completions, which is 29.6%. Almost a third of Cam's completions came to Christian McCaffrey. Is James White expected to replace it? Because like David said, James White, like he implied, James White cannot give you 2,000 plus all-purpose yards like Christian McCaffrey can and did in that offense. It's just not going to happen. All right, it's just not going to happen.
But Belichick.
Yeah, no, but that's a different thing. That's the.
I'm just saying that.
That's the. But that's the defensive side because David does have a point, 100%. And we're about to get into the defense here in a sec. If they can run the ball, and he can get good defensive production, they can win 5 or 6 games. There's no reason why they can. But this team's not winning 10, 11, 12 games. Anyone who tells me that is off their freaking rocker. And when you look at this offense right now, I mean, Cam Newton, what are you going to dink and dunk teams to the end? Because if you go look at Cam Newton his past couple of seasons as a quarterback, he hasn't been very effective throwing the ball 20-plus yards downfield.
He's awful.
And you know what?
And so you're limiting. Here's the thing. If you can't get that run game going, you really think you're going to dink and dunk us against this secondary or against Buffalo's secondary? They're gonna eat you alive, man.
But the argument that they bring up, I hear all the time, is that the offensive line is so good that they can compensate for things like that. That's the argument. We
just highlighted they're 1 injury away or 2 injuries away in the interior. You could if those 2 injuries happen in game 1, you can write the whole season off. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, if you like check down Cam in Carolina, you gonna love Cam in New England.
Bro,
Oh,
tell me.
yeah.
I want someone to
I
tell
agree
me I'm wrong.
100%.
Someone tell me I'm wrong and prove me I'm wrong. The best offensive player on the Patriots right now is Joe Tooney. Prove to me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I'll tell you right now, the best player on that team offensively is Joe Tooney.
I can't debate that. I can't
wrong, bro.
debate that.
You can make a
can't
case
debate that.
for Julian Edelman. He did just win the Super Bowl MVP a couple years ago, but he also
Not
had
at
Tom Brady
34.
throwing to him, and he's also now 34. So
Yeah.
Not,
I'm talking about today. I'm talking about
not
today.
not a 34-year-old
There's
Julian
a reason.
Edelman.
There's a reason why
Yeah.
they franchise tagged him, so we couldn't bring him in, and we had to move off to Eric Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And it's another thing, David, we talked about too, and we'll get before we get into defense, guys. You look at this team. You know what the scary thought is, and we'll slide down to the defense here. These guys were pressed up against the cap when all those opt-outs happened. So you got all those guys who are going to be coming back next year and bringing back all that cap.
Right.
All of a sudden, these guys are going to be right up against the cap and probably over it if the cap goes down next year. And look at the quality of the roster so far. That's a scary thought because they didn't lose any big offensive weapons to opt-outs.
Yeah.
So let's get into the defense here. And what's crazy is he listed it as a 4-3 EM. He's playing. This guy's out here playing games already. Dietrich Wise Jr., Lawrence Guy, Adam Butler, John Simon make up your front 4. Shalik Calhoun, Jawan Bentley, and Brandon Copeland make up your linebackers, but I do believe Josh Uche and potentially Anthony Jennings will be getting a lot of snaps by the middle of the season there. Anthony Jennings, he can play defensive end in a 4-3 as well. And then obviously no changes to the secondary. Stephon Gilmore, Jason McCourty, Terrence Brooks, Devin McCourty. But you also got to realize Jonathan Jones and J.C. Jackson.
They're very good.
They're very, very good, guys.
Very good.
And the names to watch here is Kyle Duggar, who we highlighted on our safety big board show pre-draft. Kyle Duggar has been a game changer in practice. So he's been making a lot of plays. So he'll be another guy vying for snaps too, especially when you get into those nickel sets or nickel and dime packages, right? So, I mean, let's start with you, Em. You look over this defense and, especially in that front 4, the only name that had some kind of impact in that run game is Lawrence Guy. Other than that, it's okay. And again, Brian Cowart is the backup to both defensive tackles. I mean, they got Chase Winovich. I mean, I can't believe they have him, where they have him right now on the depth chart. But, I mean, we know they'll revert back to that. We'll be seeing a lot of 3-4 from this team. But, bro,
that's crazy, man.
They don't have a lot of depth up the front, and they don't have a lot of guys that are stout against the run. And like Simon Clancy from 3 yards per carry reported, they've been getting gashed in training camp up the middle against the run. So when you look at the defense, bro, what do you see?
Well, the fact that they've been getting gashed, the reports have come out that they've been, inconsistent in the run game in training camp. But I mean, we've highlighted that's the strength of this team, the interior of their offensive line. So I wouldn't necessarily get ready to. I wouldn't necessarily get ready to write them off in that regard. But from a formational standpoint, again, this possibly could be smoke and mirrors, but it could be that their current personnel is better suited for 4-3. Bill Belichick, has, just like Bill Parcells, who I call a grandfather, they're notorious for, again, they've always taken the approach of they based off formations, it's all about what their personnel is. And, and that creates that multiple approach that we've consistently talked about, on this platform. But I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, again, I don't do much research in terms of in-depth research for their personnel. But I will say this, There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of unproven guys up front, with the exception of Lawrence Guy. But one thing is evident is that secondary is intact, and I think that for the most part, other than Patrick Chung, but they still have those outstanding corners. Devin McCourty is still in house, so their secondary. I fully anticipate it'll be minimal drop off, I would say, but they'll still be one of the better secondaries in the league. The issues will all be in their front seven.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But
yeah,
there's just a lot of uncertainty, man. So
yeah, their strengths are, like we've highlighted, are the offensive line and the secondary right now. David, when you look at this defense, what jumps into your mind?
I mean, the first thing is, just being confused with Chase Winovich, being listed as a backup. I can't imagine him not being on the field for a very significant amount of snaps. Because really, him, Dietrich Wise, and Lawrence Guy they're your three best guys in your front seven. You lost all four of your best linebackers. You lost Jamie Collins, you lost Dante Hightower, you lost Kyle Van Noy and Landon Roberts, and replaced them with two rookies. So, those guys are unproven. You lost Danny Shelton. So really, you're down to Chase Winovich, Lawrence Guy, and Dietrich Wise. And like I said, I think the key to, their offense winning games is their run game. Well, the key to any team playing them is also going to be the run game, because, you look at that secondary, it's one of the best secondaries in the league. So you want to beat the Patriots, the easiest way to beat them is by pounding the rock, because what linebackers do they have to help, the front couple guys there?
Agreed. Rhino, what are you thinking?
Well, my thought is, how good – I know you guys are saying the secondary is really good, but how good are they going to be when they don't have the kind of pressure that they're used to, and they have to hold on to their coverage for an extra second and a half?
This the overall philosophy of Bill Belichick is not, the reliance will not be on one individual to dictate, to generate the majority of the pressure. It'll be scheme oriented. So I think that approach will still be the same. So I don't think we should necessarily focus on just, who do they have that can impact the pass.
Yeah, but do you think they're going to be able to get as much pressure as they used to? I mean, that's my point. And what I'm trying.
Well, yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
If he can do that, he may get somewhere.
But the issue will be the issue in terms of the pass rush will be if they can consistently get teams just like last year in consistently third and long type situations.
Right.
That'll be the key. They don't.
Yep.
No, I don't see that happening.
That was their secret sauce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, clearly, Bill Belichick does not fill out his own unofficial depth chart. That was clearly his secretary, perhaps a grandchild, maybe a dude on the street. That is not accurate at all. You talk about Chase Winovich on the bench. You'll very likely you won't see him off the field much, if we're being completely honest. Once again, their secondary is the strength of their team. But I think the issue they're going to have is, they use a lot of different looks to generate pressure. But at a certain point, you need inherently talented pass rushers.
Right.
And, for example, you look at a guy like Richard Seymour, he was an excellent run defender. And the fact that he was amazing as a pass rusher just made him the ultimate cheat code in Bill Belichick's defense.
That's going to be Christian Wilkins.
Yep. And Christian Wilkins is going to hold that role for us. But they don't have – you look at their defense, they just don't have guys like that around. And you think about the opt-outs. Think about the guys that leave. There's been a full-scale departure from last year's defense in New England, particularly when you're talking about their front seven. So, look for their secondary to do what they usually do. But when you talk about all the turnovers they had last season, that was a primary contributor to their success last season. don't look for them to hold that same number because they're not going to be able to generate that same amount of pressure that they were last season.
Yeah, I think the Danny Shelton loss is actually going to be, besides Kyle Van Noy, probably the biggest loss to that
I
defense.
agree.
I know we didn't highlight it, but they also lost Patrick Chung from that secondary. But you see how good that
Mhm.
secondary is. It really didn't take it on the chin. But Danny Shelton,
Yeah.
they've lost that true nose, that true anchor in the middle when they want to run into the
Mhm.
3-4 base that's solid against the run.
Mhm.
And that's what's going to be. I think they no longer have that effective guy in the run that eats up that space and fills up
Yep.
gaps. And I think
Agreed.
that's going to be
And-
next to Kyle Van Noy, that's probably going to be their biggest loss.
And that might be why we have the
4-3 front?
4-3 front.
Yeah.
That might be. So, and also, that's why I think also, like you just highlighted, the loss of Patrick Chung. That's why I think there will be a drop off in terms of leadership that he brought and also communication. That's going to be an issue because he was responsible for a lot of their calls in the secondary last year. So that you're going to see a drop off. Maybe not to the point where they drop out of the top 10 in terms of the overall rankings, but there'll be a drop off, I think, especially early on.
I just think when your defensive scheme is basically you want to – it's not so much about pressure. It's not so much about penetrating the pocket as it is pushing it back and making the quarterback feel uncomfortable. When you lose an anchor guy in the middle like that, all of a sudden, and you can only push that pocket back from the outside – your quarterback just steps up in the middle and makes a play, right? Whether he tucks it and runs or he steps up and he finds someone, because that pocket is still going to hold if you can maintain the interior, bro. It's just you're going to have to step up. That's all. You're going to have to climb the pocket. So that's where I'm at with this, man. I think Danny Shelton is actually going to be one of the biggest losses to impact that defense moving forward. We're about to hit the 2-hour mark. I want to thank you guys for joining us for about the last almost hour here, but let's go over some final thoughts. We'll start with Havoc, work our way to David, then go to Rhino and come back to EM.
I mean, as always, it's Fins up. Shout out to Australia. We're in a really good place right now. We are approaching the season, and I would say, based on just the outset from week 1, we have a good chance. If not, we should be favored to win week 1. So,
well, we're not. The Patriots are favored by 6.5, I believe it is right now.
It's fool's gold, just like these depth charts. Just like these depth charts, that's fool's gold. Don't buy it. But it just goes to show, like, some of these national media narratives. You see guys trying to get on the bandwagon early. But they'll find out, much as how, we were able to come on strong last season. I think this season, it's not going to take us as long. We're not going to get to week 10 and then flip the switch. We're going to figure out much sooner. So, I don't know about us challenging for the playoffs or anything like that, but, I think 7-8 wins when you're talking about the totality of the season, I think that's a fair assumption to make. And it could be even more depending on the development, particularly of our young guys. So I'm looking forward to week 1. That's for sure.
And that offensive line, man. The sooner that offensive line comes together, the better off this team will be. David, what are your final thoughts for today, bro?
So I'm gonna go a little opposite with my prediction. I'm agreeing with these guys in the national media. If here's the thing, he's gotten better in, like, his touchdown to interception ratio. He's gotten better in his QBR, his yard, just like taking care of the ball over the past 4 seasons, and then through week 6 through 17 when he came back in was like the best he's had in his career. So I'm not expecting like them to come out of the gate like winning a bunch of games strong, but if we can win New England, if we can win Jacksonville, and then maybe win 2 to 3 games from Denver, Los Angeles Chargers, Los Angeles Rams, and the Cardinals, you're sitting at 4 wins there, heading into the Jets game week 10. you put Tua in the lineup, you've got Jets, Cincinnati, and then New England again. So maybe not win the division, but you could, if Fitz can win us 4 games, I think, Tua could come in, and between the Jets, the Bengals, the Patriots, the Raiders, Tua could come in and win us 5 more games, and get us to that 8-8, 9-7, and then the playoffs having that extra team this year, we could get into a wild card spot.
Optimistic. I like it. Rhino, what's going on, brother?
I have to see the Pats game. I have high hopes, but we have no evidence, no data to really determine what is going to happen here to make an educated guess. I trust in flow. I see what they're doing. They have a plan. I see it. The potential's there, but like we always say, paper, it doesn't mean much until it happens on the field. But I think we're going to win 31-20. That's my prediction for the game. And even if they blow them out, I want to see how they beat them. I don't want to see lucky this, a tip this. We got an interception to kind of change the momentum of the game. We don't really know if our run defense is that good or our offensive rush is that good. Rushing attack is that good. I want to see how they win, and then I'll go from there. But I have high hopes. I think we all do. And I think it's important for Tua to get in there, but if he does not get in there, I'm going to trust flow. I'm going to trust they have a plan, and it's going the way they want it. But I think he will get in there, like you said, the Jets game. And fins up. It's going to be a good season.
Yeah, what are your final thoughts, brother?
Yeah, man. Just looking forward to Sunday. My final prediction.
Sunday. If you're in jail, you better break out.
Yeah. My final prediction for Sunday is that, first off, appreciate all you guys again for y'all's support coming on the panel, man. And
Roundtable.
Always enjoy Rhino, Havoc, your insight as well as yours, my friend. But I think my final prediction is going to be.
Don't give your prediction. Don't give your prediction, bro.
Oh.
Friday, bro.
Damn.
Oh,
God.
Damn.
My bad. I remember my first time streaming. What's going on, bro?
Man, my bad, homie, my bad. But yeah, man, I'm just looking forward. Just the fact that we have football, man, tomorrow. On Thursday, and football is here, and let's just hope we have a complete season. Hopefully this COVID-19 issue will no longer be as much as we're getting further into the year and transitioning to next year. Hopefully this COVID-19 issue, as well as other issues that's going on in our country right now, will not be as much of an issue moving forward. And hopefully we just, we can have a complete season, you know what I mean? Because I think not only our country, but the world needs football. They need
distraction.
They need a distraction. They need a break from what 2020 has brought since January. And yeah, man, it's just good that football is here, man, and just looking forward to Sunday for the most part. And appreciate everybody in the comments coming out again in the chat room for all the love and support. And let's get it, man. Football is here. Let's get it. And fins up all day, every day.
Yeah, we're sitting at 153 people in the room right now. We peaked at about 170 in the room. So a little bit down from 260 last weekend, but we appreciate all you guys still for showing up this late on a Tuesday night. Again, smash that like button if you haven't. Rhino, what's the current like button? What's the current like count at?
96 on my screen.
What's the dislike count at? Because we know the haters are out.
11.
These guys. All right. So shout out to the haters, because you're the same individuals that show up every stream. So
yeah.
I mean, you must
appreciate that.
You must be subscribed at this point and getting the notifications. So shout out.
I know, right?
So guys, combat those guys. We've been good. We've been getting 160, 170, 180 likes on a lot of streams recently. So just pound that like button. drown out the people that hate the success that's going on right now. If you'd like to donate to the channel, paypal.me/Phinside. You can also donate through the Super Chat. We didn't have any donations through Super Chat, right, Rhino? Because I wasn't paying attention.
No. Not that I saw.
Beautiful. That's why he's the number one mod, guys. Become a Phinside the NFL Patreon, www.patreon.com/Phinside the NFL. Tomorrow night, we will be back. We will have Dudley Durong. We will have Dante Collinelli from Blue Chip Scouting and the Draft Brawl. We will also have Great One DeVore. We will also have Paul from On the Phinside. And, of course, we'll have the homie Mr. Ballgame. And it's going to be a round table for the ages.
That's crazy.
We'll be recapping a little bit of the end. It's the 7 Dolphin nights of the round table. And we'll be recapping a little bit of training camp. And we'll give you guys a small little another preview of regular season. We'll have a few predictions, non-record based, as well as a couple other things. So tune in tomorrow night, guys. It will be starting around 9 o'clock. We may start around 9:15-ish because I know EM's going to be pressed against time, and Dudley said he'll be probably coming in around 9:15, 9:30 as well. So it might be 9:30 we start at tomorrow, maybe 9:30-ish, just to make it easier for everyone. So, guys, and then Friday night, we will be back for our official preview show of the game on the weekend. And then Sunday night, a half hour after the game ends, you come live on YouTube, and we'll be live with a post-game analysis as well as a recap for the first 45 minutes of the show. And then the last portion of the show, we'll be dropping the link, and it'll be for you guys to come on and either vent about the loss or celebrate the victory. And we'll be doing that weekly. So that Sunday show is your guys' show after we do the recap. So, guys, the busyness has begun. So if y'all already know what time it is, guys, it's Fins Up all day, every day. And we'll be back tomorrow night. And until then, everyone stay happy, healthy, and blessed. All right?